Can a Broadway musical change how a nation thinks about race? Well, in 1949, South Pacific tried, and it stirred up more than just applause. I'm Matt Hasquin. I'm a high school history teacher, and I'm taking you through line by line of Billy Joel's song, We Didn't Start the Fire. This is the beginning of the second line. We've went through Harry Truman, Doris Day, Red China, and Johnny Ray. Now we're ready to start with South Pacific. When people think of musicals, they often imagine catchy songs, dancing sailors, and happy endings. But when Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein released South Pacific in 1949, they weren't just aiming to entertain, they wanted to challenge their audience. This is based on James A. Michener's Pulitzer Prize-winning novel, Tales of the South Pacific. This was, the musical was then set during World War II, and it centered on two love stories, each interrupted by something deeper than war, which was racism. The first love story follows Nellie Forbush, a white American Navy nurse who falls for a French plantation owner named Emile Debec. But when she finds out he has children with a Polynesian woman, she kind of backs off, and she reveals her own racial prejudice. The second story is even more pointed. Lieutenant Cable, who is a U.S. officer, falls in love with a Tonkinese girl named Liette, but ultimately refuses to marry her because of how society back home would treat them. Cable sings one of the most controversial and groundbreaking songs in Broadway history. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught to hate and fear. You've got to be taught from year to year. It was a direct critique of learned racism, and some people were furious. In 1949, America was not used to seeing racism called out on stage, especially in a hit musical. Some lawmakers, especially in the South, wanted the song cut. One Georgia state legislature even called it a piece of communist propaganda, and Rodgers and Hammerstein refused. And their response? If we took the song out, it would mean that we didn't believe in what we were saying. They kept the song, the show stayed intact, and audiences kept coming. South Pacific ran for nearly 2,000 performances on Broadway. It won 10 Tony Awards, and in 1950 it earned the Pulitzer Prize for Drama, one of the rare times a musical has received that honor. South Pacific wasn't just a hit. It helped mainstream conversations about racism at a time when Jim Crow laws still ruled the South and interracial marriage was still illegal in many states. It also humanized Pacific Islander characters at a time when most portrayals of Asians or Pacific peoples in U.S. media were either comedic, exotic, or even hostile. The 1958 film version reached an even wider audience. While some critics felt the movie softened the message, the musical's core, love challenged by bigotry, remained intact. It laid the groundwork for future musicals like West Side Story and Hairspray, which would also tackle race and prejudice head on. So why does it matter? At a time when Broadway was still mostly song and dance, South Pacific dared to say something uncomfortable. It told millions of Americans that prejudice isn't born, it's taught. And it reminded audiences that silence is complicity. The show didn't fix racism, but it made people think. And that's how change often starts. Next up in We Didn't Start the Fire will be Walter Winchell, followed to keep going line by line through the song and the history behind it. And that's South Pacific, one of those things that you should know by being alive. Thanks for watching.